We hear a lot of anguish from our executive members, anguish, despair, frustration, reacting to the helplessness that some of them feel at times, as well as, the aspirational quality of what it feels for many, like to, finally get out and find something new that I really care about. Um, and in translation, we also hear, well, the recruiters are fill in the expletive. Or, the organizations just don't see me. This is a lot of the way the frustration is kind of expressed to us. I'm sure that's what you're hearing, Sandra, and I'm wondering when we hear that from our audience, what is the thing that they should be focused on that would help them overcome and work through what those experiences are doing to them?
Hmm. Well, I'll tell you something I realized when I was a recruiter. Because when I started recruiting more transactional levels. I didn't know anything about accounting and finance, and that's what they had me recruiting, so I had to learn it. And you sit down with a hiring manager, and the hiring manager tells you exactly what they're looking for, and I would just go recruit. I would submit the top three matches, and one would get the job. Um, but when I started working on executive level positions, what I found is that, first of all, I would sit down with the stakeholders and they'd all have different ideas of backgrounds they were looking for. Okay. So I try and, recruit to make everyone happy. But a lot of times the person they hire didn't even match that. And the other element, it's so with that I realized, well, first of all, they don't really know the background they're looking for. So who are these people that are getting the jobs even though their background isn't the same industry or size company or something like that? And I looked at those people, and those people, that's not what they were selling. They weren't selling their background. They were selling the one thing that the client knew, and that was the outcome that needed to happen. And so I started screening for that because I had to figure out as a recruiter, how am I going to recruit the people that actually get the job? And that's when I realized probably maybe only about four people out of 100 even knew how to do that.
Hmm.
So as a recruiter, I had to just submit people I knew would get the job. That was my job. That's the role of the recruiter. Like, recruiters don't go out and work for you. They're working for the client. And it's not my job to figure out their value proposition. It's their job to communicate it to me and get it to me in a manner in which I can submit that to my client. So what ended up happening is I was running around just chasing the same people everybody else was after. And I started getting this overwhelming feeling that I wasn't solving the real problem because I knew that a lot of that talent out there was good, but they're not getting the message across. They're not getting the message across, and they needed to learn how to do it. And a few other things happened after that, but fortunately, I ended up at ExecuNet.
So they weren't getting the message across, which means they weren't being recognized by
Right.
the people that needed
So
to recognize them.
another way to say it is, when we're lower in the org chart, we can just show up with our skills and experience
Mhm.
and expect our audience, which would be like a hiring manager, to see that and recognize that and go, oh, yes, perfect experience for us. But when you get to the executive level, these people don't necessarily know those things. That's why they need you in the first place. The definition of executive, as far as I see it, is you're bringing the strategy to the table. So if they knew those things, they probably wouldn't need you. And maybe they think they do. Clearly, you can see by some of the job descriptions, they think they know. But if you compare to what they actually hire to the things they put on job descriptions at the executive level, you would laugh. Um, but what they needed to do, what you need to do as an executive, is to be able to not expect the audience to recognize your skills and experience as what is necessary to do the job, but rather communicate your value proposition so they can recognize it as, wow, that is the problem we're trying to solve. And that's what would get people, particularly offers, when their background wasn't a complete, what we used to call apples to apples for the job that they had and the job that they're getting. Most people I find that I talk to, they are getting some activity around the apples to apples zone, but that's not what they're looking for. They don't want to do the exact same job that they're doing right now someplace else. And even that can be very hard to get in the door with as well.